contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Experience the ultimate thrill, Porsche GT Track Day, where passion meets performance on some of North America's most legendary racetracks. Designed exclusively for Porsche owners, this is your chance to unleash the full potential of your vehicle in a motorsport environment. Drive the same circuits as professional racers, on the same weekend as Porsche Sprint Challenge events. Where will your Porsche take you? With limited space, every Porsche GT Track Day ensures a premium, exclusive experience. You'll get nearly 3 hours of track time, starting with reconnaissance laps, progressing through lead-follow sessions, and culminating in exhilarating open laps. Plus, strap in for heart-pounding hot laps with a professional race driver.
I thought I was fast. Didn't resemble anything that I've ever done.
Beyond the track, immerse yourself in VIP hospitality, premium viewing areas, and exclusive paddock access where you can witness Porsche Sprint Challenge teams in action. Spots are limited. Scan the QR code now to reserve your place at Porsche GT Track Day.
The Porsche Endurance Challenge North America Series started off here at Circuit of the Americas, and Joey, we're back here once again.
We are just outside of downtown Austin, Texas at this beautiful FIA Grade 1 facility. We are going to end the weekend with the endurance race, but in order to see that checkered flag, all of the drivers have to make it through turn number 1, known as Big Red.
That's for sure, and they've got to survive those 90 minutes today. Before we get to that racing action, let's check in with Victoria Thomas of Kelly Moss Racing.
So I'm out here with Victoria Thomas, team owner of Kelly Moss Racing. I run with her in Carrera Cup, so super exciting. And I just wanted to talk to you because you run such a huge operation. You have a lot of cars, not just in Sprint Challenge, but also in Carrera Cup. Can you talk about that?
Sure, yeah, we have a lot of cars. We have 13 cars here just this weekend, so a lot to manage, but I think that for me, my biggest job is to assemble the best team possible. And we have fantastic, dedicated people that are really good at their jobs. Kind of an unsung hero, Carissa Cobb, who has been in racing for 25 years, is here wrangling the cats, as she would say, making sure that everything runs smoothly, everybody gets where they need to be. So it's just about having great people.
So how many cars do you have here this weekend?
13 here this weekend.
Oh my goodness. And how many in Carrera Cup?
So in Carrera Cup, we have another 9. And then we also run Porsche Club. And so we have a pretty big team, a lot going on, all Porsches.
Yeah, huge operation. So the huge topic this weekend has been the heat.
Yes.
How have the drivers been handling that? How has the team been handling that as well?
Well, I think that adrenaline helps a great deal. So with it being hot, but the competition being so fierce this weekend, I think that that's been helpful. You saw that when people were getting out of the cars yesterday because they didn't notice as much in the car, and then as soon as they got out, they felt it. But the real truth is, if you went into where our drivers change right now, oh my gosh, that's where I feel the heat. It is very, very pungent.
Well, that's awesome. Good luck in the endurance race today, and congratulations with your races so far. Lonnie did great, Alan did great, John as well, so super exciting to see.
Yeah, we've had, I think that we've had 12 trophies this weekend, so I can't complain too much, but looking forward to endurance and continuing with the season.
Amazing, thank you.
Thank you.
While the race will be about being it in for the long haul, qualifying is all about that one-lap pace. It's time to go fast and set the grid for the Porsche Endurance Challenge. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is TDI Cup alumni Joey Atterbury, along with Carrera Cup North America driver Ashley Freiberg. I'm really looking forward to this one, Joey.
Yeah, we're going to be ending the weekend out here with our endurance race, and of course, endurance racing means multi-class. We're going to have those Cayman GT4s mixed up with those GT3 Cup cars come race time, and of course, in qualifying that we're about to get rolling here, the Cayman's going first.
Exactly. So they split the qualifying for the 2 different types of cars that go racing in this series. The Caymans up first, then we'll have the 992 Cup cars, of some of which you can see out on pit lane, ready to go, and just eagerly awaiting for their session to begin. And thankfully, this is nice and simple, as they will have the AM drivers now setting the lap. Now, that'll be for the Pro-Ams. Obviously, the AM driver is out there putting themselves into where their grid position will be. But for the AM pairings, which is 2 AM drivers, they will get to choose who they want to start the race. Whoever does set the lap down will have to start first, as we check in on Bill Pelichewski out on circuit now.
This is coming up to the back straightaway here, and of course we are on our out lap, so I think Bill is just going to be slowly getting everything up to temperature here, making sure that the vitals are okay with the car, making sure water temp is good, oil temp is good, fuel pressures are good. Make sure you get everything ramped up. And how important is to go through that process, Ashley, to make sure you've got your car ready to start that lap 1?
The timing of when your tire pressures come up to temp is really, really crucial in order to maximize your Yokohama tire on that first flying lap. So qualifying is only 15 minutes long. It's really a short qualifying session, to be honest. So you don't want a red flag to come out here and kind of mess up your timing of when you get your tire pressures up. So about halfway through the track, you want to really start leaning on those tires, leaning on the brakes. The brakes especially build a lot of pressure in the tire and a lot of heat as well. So that way, when you come around turn 20 and you start your first flyer, your car is right up to speed.
So I'm guessing a lot of drivers will be trying their best to get out there early, get the lap in, just in case of a potential red flag out here, because you don't want to be caught without one on the board. You saw that Pelichewski going to be sharing the car with Liddell, and that's one of the things I love about the Endurance Challenge, Joey, is this is where a lot of the coaches get to hop in the car. We get some good names out joining their students.
Absolutely. It is the upper echelon of sports car racing coaches that are out here in this paddock week in and week out, especially not only for the Endurance Challenge, like you said, sharing the car, but they're also there for the Sprint Challenge races, making sure that all the drivers are up to speed, reviewing data, reviewing video. But you're right, quite a plethora of drivers, especially worldwide. I even see Charles Espenlaub out there. He's been globe-trotting around the last few years, racing some Porsches and different continents as well.
Without a doubt, as we watch coming up through the S's section here, just trying to work their way up to the crest of the hill. We still don't have any times on the board, as this is the first flying lap for a couple of the cars. Still an out lap for Reggie Tartaglione. Bill is still showing on the out lap. Greg Checky as well. Looks like Greg's just crossed the start-finish line himself. So now he's started his flyer. As for the first and second sector here, does look like Reggie Tartaglione is doing pretty good, although he has been bested by Greg Herback on that first sector now. So he's got the quickest first part. We'll watch to see who can manage to take the pole position. The Solaris flying lap here in the Endurance Challenge.
This is coming down to the stadium section here at Circuit of the Americas. There's so many different turns here, 20 turns, 3+ miles here at this racetrack that's outside of Austin, Texas here. So lots of variation in the corners too. We got sharp hairpins coming up to one of the slowest corners right here, turn number 15. You really got to make sure to get it wound around that left-hander, and then it comes up to actually one of the fastest corners that we've got here at COTA. Turns 16, 17, and 18, you really just let the car roam free out there and accelerate up through the gears.
Still watching Kopczynski here coming to the end of the lap around turn 19. And what kind of time is he going to be putting on the board? Obviously, in an endurance race, the qualifying order not as important, but still, it sets the tone for the race at the start of everything. He'll cross the line. And I'm seeing a 2:25.0. That's going to be a decent one, but I have a feeling we might see pole go to another driver, at least a quicker time, as we wait for the rest of them to come across.
And typically, what we've been seeing out of the Cayman GT4s in those sprint challenge races earlier in the weekend, the fastest laps, I believe, were about a 16 or so, 17. You know, lots of cars floating around in the 2:18. So I think that lap time out of Kopczynski, still getting everything up to speed out there. And just as I say that, Greg Herback puts in the first 2:18 of the day.
Interesting message from race control, but helps us out. That is not Reggie Tartaglione in the car. It's Manny, as we've got improper driver ID message showing up. So there's Bill Pelichewski up and around turn 1. His first flying lap this time, it appears, as he's out on track right now. Greg Checky, though, our quickest with a 2:15.6 for the Pro-Ams. And Charles Espinlau is now jumping up in behind him, but about half a second behind.
Yeah, 2:15.6, like you said, and that's actually one of the quicker times that we've seen out of a Cayman GT4 over the course of the entire weekend. So a heck of a lap from that yellow and white number 72 as we continue to watch Pelichewski. And of course, talking about Greg Checky, sharing his car, or I should say the car, with his daughter, Anna Checky.
Yeah, it's a really fun one to watch them compete out there, and both of them have been doing fantastic so far this season. What's interesting is that Greg was the first of the pair of them to come away with a victory as well. So Anna is probably eager to try and correct that and work her way to the top step, but she's taken multiple podiums already this season, and considering for both of them it's their first professional bit of racing, it's really been impressive seeing what they've been able to achieve.
And I think if Anna is watching timing and scoring, which I'm sure she is right now, being the co-driver, a 2:15 from Greg is an amazing lap time. If we go back to those races earlier in the weekend, it's really been Anna setting the pace over her father. I'm sure that she sees that lap time and says, oh man, this car is going to be a fast one to hop into a little bit later today.
Ashley, I've often heard drivers talk about how qualifying is its own skill. What are some of the things that go into being able to perform in something like this?
Yeah, so to go back to that outlap, I mean, it's really important on your outlap, like I was saying before, that you time the pressures of your car at the right moment, because if you overheat the tire too soon, then you might just miss the peak in the last half of your lap, and vice versa. If you don't get enough temperature up initially, you run into turn 1, you can lose a few tenths. So learning the tire, learning how to maximize the tire is definitely something that takes a lot of practice and a special skill set, because there's definitely just that 2% more in the tire everywhere, especially in the brake zones, that last bit releasing off the brake and rolling the speed through the corners as well.
So it looks like everybody now has a lap time, as Joseph Petkus is our last one to put one up. And I think that might be him coming up towards us here into turn 1 now. No, excuse me, that is Charles Espinlau that we've got in the 78 up and across the hill. And just glancing that inside curb. Right now, he's still sitting in second, still at the same distance as we reported before, about half a second between them. Total 8 cars on track currently.
I had mentioned this driver a little while ago, Charles Espenlaub. He has got an incredible plethora of experience in sports cars. So I'm sure that he went out and laid down that 216.1, and then he's on the radio with the team. Hey, do I need to go any faster? Do I need to push harder? And I'm sure they said, yeah, the 72 actually just laid down a 215.6. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Charles go out there and get on this lap.
Tom Kopczynski with a personal best second sector. He's got to try and catch up to those ahead by about half a second himself, it looks like. That's Greg Herback, so that's not within class, but probably would not like to be separated from his other class drivers in the Pro-Am competing when they grid up. So I'll keep an eye on that to see if he is able to improve, and unfortunately it looks like does not go quicker on his third sector. Meanwhile, Osplund just behind him, 2 personal bests himself.
Yeah, cars definitely kind of ramping up that performance, but you got to, because like Ashley said, this is only a 15-minute session, so if you look at the clock right now, we're just about to tick under 5 minutes remaining. You got to go out there and you got to perform. This is going to be an interesting situation here for Espenlaub. He is running up on a car that is much, much slower, and he is on a hot lap. He does not want to get held up. See if he gets to the inside here of turn 16, which he does. The competitor saw him in the rearview mirror. That was great camaraderie to let that car by.
AM category sees Greg Herback with the provisional pole position there, and he's parked the car, so I suspect we won't see him back out. Osplund is the one that's trying to catch up to him, and last time by 2:21.2. That does improve time, but not position for Brent, unfortunately. Both Brent and Joseph Petkes are also doing this solo. We have precious few drivers, Ashley, that are, I think, willing to dare that in this Texas heat.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like we were talking about as well, the peak of the tire is really going to be your first and your second lap. So once you get past that, you can see a lot of drivers putting the car in a pit lane already once they feel satisfied with their time, but there's not a lot of time remaining. So another way you could go about it is giving the car one nice cool down lap and then trying to attack again, because although it is a long race ahead, still 90 minutes is not super long, so your qualifying position does matter here, and you don't want to be stuck in a situation where you get bottled up in the middle of the pack. Still being as forward as possible is key.
Manny Tartaglione moves up into third in class with that latest lap. Nicely done with the 2:24 flat. Meantime, it is still, well, it's even closer now between Kopczynski and Herback. It's 0.07 of a second. Tom just keeps getting closer and closer, but not quite quicker than our AM pole sitter.
Oh, but just as you say that, Kopczynski does lay down one that's just a touch faster, so a 217.77 puts him in front of Greg Herback, and that makes our timing and scoring pylon nice and easy to read right now, because we've got the Pro-Am class separated from that Masters class, the silver and the gold.
Which is being held by Greg Checky now up at the top of that one, as Espenlaub still chasing over in the Pro-Am category. 2.5 minutes left to go. You are allowed to complete the hot laps once the ticker gets down to 0, but you need to be on a lap. As soon as you come across that line after 0, that is it for your qualifying session. And I think we've got enough time for just about one more for some of them if they're getting to the line now as we watch down into turn 19. I believe this is Espenlaub that we are following.
Let's see what a lap time he's able to do. Last time was a 16.5. He's just about to cross the finish line, a 17.0. So what that tells me, the driver is still pushing, but the track temperature continues to warm up out here. The ambient air temperature continuing to get hot. So the performance level in the car, it's going to kind of plateau at some point, but in terms of those sticker laps, those hot laps that you really want to go out there and qualify, it was probably your first timed lap.
It's not as bad as it was yesterday, as it's 106 Fahrenheit on the track surface. We saw a 125, I think, was the highest it got up to yesterday afternoon. But we've had a lot more cloud cover today, and there's been a lot more wind, so it has been, thankfully, quite a bit cooler.
It has been, but that ambient air temperature, I checked it before we started this qualifying session, and it was still over 90 degrees out there. So when we talk about the track temp, it might have a little bit more grip for those sticky Yokohama tires, but the engines, they're still breathing pretty similar in terms of that air quality.
Love that confidence from Herback, because he's the only car that is pitted here partway through the session. Every single one is still out there besides him, trying to improve late on, but as you pointed out, it seems like that's getting more and more difficult as we're now less than a minute to go.
So Ashley, when we talk about the performance drop-off with those tires, do you look for something, a characteristic in the car, or you just kind of feel it out?
Honestly, handling-wise, there isn't a huge difference once the performance of the tire goes off. You really see it in your dash. So you have that time difference on your dash telling you whether you're going faster or a little bit slower, and you generally will see it right away when you get through the first couple of corners. You'll lose 1/10 of a second. It's really not much, but once you start to see that and you feel that, then once you start feeling it, it can be a little bit like a four-wheel drift, a little more than having your full-on sticker tire at its peak. So once you start to feel that, for me, I generally try to bring it in, or if I think there's more time in it, I'll give it that cool down lap and go for it again. But you want to save your tires for the race, because that's what's important. You want to finish the race really well. It's not necessarily just about qualifying well.
Checkered flag is out. Session wrapping up. Osplund going to be the first one to cross that line. Does not catch up to Herback, but that was going to be a difficult ask because it was 3 seconds. It's now down to 2.5, so a huge improvement from Brent, just not enough to take the pole away.
Like you said, the checkered flag is out, so as long as you have already started this flying lap, you will be able to complete. I see Charles Espinlaub already in pit lane. Another car crossing by that start-finish line just as I was mentioning. That looks like we got Petkus, Osplund, and Espinlaub so far that have crossed the line, and Checky, as well as Pelichewski and Herback already in pit lane.
Indeed, just saw Checky go by us in his yellow and white machine, so Tom Kopczynski still out there, and Manny Tartaglione still circulating on the track. In fact, the 52 of Kopczynski had the most recent lap, I think, eliminated there. Lap 6, it looks like, and that was for track limits. They are watching that, so as fast as you want to go, you have to stay within the boundaries.
It's always a talking point here at Circuit of the Americas. There is so much runoff, so much painted asphalt out there that you can kind of abuse, and trust me, it's on both sides of the track. Inside, outside, apex, corner entry, corner exit, wherever you look, you can take advantage.
And that sounds like someone heading down pit lane, and that is going to be Kopczynski. So yeah, he's done, and as well Tartaglione. So this is our order for the Caymans in the Endurance Challenge here at COTA. Greg Checky on the pole with Charles Espinlaub starting from P2. Then it's Bill Pelichewski in third, followed by Tom Kopczynski, and that's your Pro-Ams. The Ams see Greg Herback on the top spot with Brent Osplund starting in second, Manny Tartaglione third, and Joseph Petkus in fourth. We've got a little bit more qualifying coming your way very shortly. Stay tuned for the 992 Cup Cars here in the Porsche Endurance Challenge.
It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Experience the ultimate thrill, Porsche GT Track Day, where passion meets performance on some of North America's most legendary racetracks. Designed exclusively for Porsche owners, this is your chance to unleash the full potential of your vehicle in a motorsport environment. Drive the same circuits as professional racers, on the same weekend as Porsche Sprint Challenge events. Where will your Porsche take you? With limited space, every Porsche GT Track Day ensures a premium, exclusive experience. You'll get nearly 3 hours of track time, starting with reconnaissance laps, progressing through lead-follow sessions, and culminating in exhilarating open laps. Plus, strap in for heart-pounding hot laps with a professional race driver.
I thought I was fast. Didn't resemble anything that I've ever done.
Beyond the track, immerse yourself in VIP hospitality, premium viewing areas, and exclusive paddock access where you can witness Porsche Sprint Challenge teams in action. Spots are limited. Scan the QR code now to reserve your place at Porsche GT Track Day.
Back for racing here at Circuit of the Americas. It is time for qualifying for the 992 Cup cars here at this fantastic circuit for the Endurance Challenge. And Joey, we saw the Caymans go out, go fast. Now it's time for the big cars.
Yeah, we did see those Cayman GT4 cars, and now we are going to see those 992 GT3 Cup chassis cars. A little bit of a faster lap time is what we're going to be expecting out of these ones. Those Caymans' pole position was a 2:15.6, but the fastest I've seen these 992 cars run, in practice at least, was down into the 2:08s. We'll see if they get down there in qualifying.
Exactly. So who's got the speed to try and cut into that? We wanted to see who can dip under the 209s, and we did in some of the first races. In fact, I think the qualifying for the Sprint Challenge earlier this weekend. But now we see if anybody can even get farther down on the lap time. There's going to be a little bit of a bigger field, too. Not too huge, as 14 cars should hit the track, Ashley. But I imagine that's always a little bit more difficult trying to find that space.
Yeah, fortunately with 20 turns, there's actually, I would think, a fair amount of space, as long as these guys are smart about it and space themselves out right away when they're leaving pit lane. It should be okay. So we'll see how this plays out, but certainly you don't want to be stuck behind anybody. Even if you think they're a little bit faster, you never know if someone could have a little slip up here and there and cost you on your own lap. So finding that space is definitely key.
Joey, a sign of the heat that we're starting to see come up is some of the drivers in the cars have the crew members, I guess, try to get the air flowing a little bit there.
Yeah, they're just trying to fan the door open, and what's the frustrating part about being inside the race car right now, you really need the other door open to get the actual airflow to go across through the cockpit. Otherwise, you're just kind of wafting around whatever's inside the race car. Personally, My favorite tool was the leaf blower. That'll definitely cool you off.
Are you saying that they don't have the window crank? You can just get that other...
No, and these cars have windows, so it really does seal in that temperature.
Oh, man, it's going to be rough, no doubt, especially when we get to the actual endurance race a little bit later. Going to be the longest these drivers have had to be in the car in those race conditions. They should be releasing them shortly here, because I can hear some of the engines already rumbling out in front of us on pit lane. And then we'll see who can go quickest, as we've got just about a minute left, it looks like, before they will release these cars. The 992 GT3 Cup, a whole lot of power underneath it, Joey, and honestly a staple in Porsche racing. They've used this car for many years now to help build the development program.
Absolutely, you know, it dates back several generations, you know, at least as far back as I can remember. The 996 cars, you know, I've got some time in some 997 Cup cars as well, up into the GT categories. And then of course you dive into these 992 multiple generations, and of course this is the biggest, baddest of those GT3 Cup cars, the most recent one. 4-liter NA 6-cylinder, making over 500 horsepower is what these cars are capable of.
So there's a lot to try and put that power down, to apply that throttle, get quickly out of the corners. At a place like this where you've got long straights such as down the back stretch, you need that speed. There we go. We have been released and we are underway for qualifying. Everybody eager to try and go find some space on the track, but Gilliland looks like he'll be the first.
Now, yesterday in the GT3 Cup Sprint Challenge race, I saw a little bit of some interesting outlap procedures with these GT3 Cup cars, and Ashley, I think you were kind of surprised as well how much they were kind of stacking up. We're going to see if they're actually going to do the same thing, or if these drivers are going to find their own little piece of racetrack, because when it comes to qualifying, the more you've got your head on the shoulders, the better off you are.
Yeah, I really like to see what John Gilliland is doing here. He's kind of setting the pace for everybody, and he's just going for it right away, which is nice because it's giving everyone a nice space to find their own little area to get their lap in. So, like I said, it's just really key to make sure you're not held up by anyone. Even if you're a little bit close and you might be similar speed, there is a little bit of aero wash as well. So the car in front of you could always affect the handling of your car as well. So finding that space is definitely what's going to make it happen.
A few cars to watch out for. Demir Hott had a very good race in the 992 Cup cars earlier this morning. And then, of course, the big talking point is Mr. Ironman, Scott Blend, who has been racing in all the races he can in the 992 Cup cars over this weekend between Sprint Challenge, USA West, and North America. And he won in his class in all 4 races. Now he hops in, not just to do the Endurance Challenge, Joey, but do the Endurance Challenge solo.
It's pretty impressive. It's basically the same thing that he did about a month or so back at Sonoma Raceway out on the West Coast. So he's plenty capable of being able to perform, and not only perform, but perform at a high level. Remember, they had Mike Johnson on the pit box calling strategy when we were talking with Scott a little bit earlier. Mike's not here this weekend, so it'll be interesting to see if they're able to make those strategy calls, because at both Sebring and Sonoma, they were able to read those yellow flags, bring Scott into the pits, and that's ultimately what got them that track position and those wins.
I can't wait for Gilliland's teammate Aaron Janson to get out on track. We got to watch him last year in the Endurance Challenge. Did fantastic at Sonoma, but now he's going to be racing here in Texas this year. In fact, he joined us at Sonoma in the booth this year for the Endurance Challenge race. A fantastic guy, and is just incredibly fast in these Cup cars.
It was pretty fun to have him in the booth. He was very animated. You remember, he was very much into watching the racing. He loved calling it. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see him out there actually performing inside of the race car, get to see him a little bit in the commentary booth, and then get to see the skills behind the wheel.
Yeah, this car was very much in the thick of the action, although it wasn't Janson in it before. It was Riley Dickinson who was wheeling alongside Johnson. But I think we should see, or Gilliland rather, not Johnson, we should see some good speed out of the pair of them, regardless, fighting for that Pro-Am. And much like we had with the Caymans, we have the Pro-Am and the Am category. And the AM is a pairing of 2 AM drivers. Pro-Am is what it says on the tin. You got a Pro and an AM in the car.
Jump back over to the front straightaway here. This looks to be the 295 car. And it's actually going to be Andy Lee that I see inside the car right now. Nope, now the driver ID goes ahead and swaps over to Brandon Hankins in that red and black Porsche Cup car. That confused me just a touch, because typically we see those coaches, those pros, in at the end of the race, and then we had that little driver ID in the Cayman. So good to see that thing finally registers across one of those timing and scoring loops.
Exactly, yeah. I would be shocked if they started Andy Lee for this race, because he's very, very fast. And put it at the other side of that great show that we saw at Sonoma last time around. Yeah, so Andy Lee won't get to go up against Riley Dickinson again this time, but will try and redeem himself a little bit after he got a bit robbed.
And you know, since he had brought up the whole TDI Cup thing in the intro, you know, Andy and I used to compete back in the Volkswagen TDI Cup together. So, yeah, no, Andy from way back, and obviously his career has really taken off, become very, very successful in sports car racing, and it's great to see him out here in the Endurance Challenge as well.
Should be our first time laps across the line this time, so you're not seeing anything up in the upper left quite yet to really get an idea of the pecking order. And Ashley, you've spent a lot of time in these cars these past year and a half. So what are the drivers really focusing on in the Cup car?
Yeah, so with this Cup car, and we were talking about previous generations, the 992 in particular has a lot more aerodynamic force helping it out throughout these corners. So the rolling speed through the corner is really strong, especially on brand new Yokohama tires. You can start to come off that brake pedal a little bit sooner versus when you have a little bit older of a tire, and roll that speed across the apex. Also, the braking performance in these cars is absolutely insane. You can press this brake pedal to the floor and this car comes to a stop real fast. So if you can maximize that brake zone and roll off the brake at the perfect time, roll across the apex, that's where you're going to find a lot of speed in this car.
Looks like Scott Blend is continuing to find speed, as he's our quickest currently overall, and then Gilliland is our fastest in the Pro-Am category. So Blend leading those AM cars currently. Looks like Josh Conley managing to sneak into third, but it's once again similar to what we saw in the Cayman show. It's about half a second between P1 and P2.
Yeah, it's relatively close, and then maybe about a second plus back to I think it was Conley back there, and I think that Demir Hott was just able to sneak in front of Josh Conley. So looks like Demir laid down a 2:10.8. So we got 3 cars right now in that 2:10 lap time bracket as we watch this very cool scheme. You know, I always like pointing out these schemes, and oftentimes it's the colors, right? The bright colors really attract your eye, and this one, purple, yellow, black, it definitely grabs you.
This is Peter Toombs, who is currently sitting 4th in the AMS. It's about 7th overall, so not too shabby of a lap, but has some work to do, as I think it's about 4.7 seconds off the pole time. Scott really has been picking him up and putting him down all weekend long, and he's not lost his edge after running 4 races.
Yeah, it's funny, actually, I saw him in hospitality after his 4th race win of the weekend, and he was saying, man, I hope the sun does not come out in this race today, because I was really concerned in race 3 yesterday that, man, I don't know if I could do it. And to be honest, I don't blame him. These cars get super, super hot, and it is hot outside, so we'll see how he performs in the race, but man, he's killing it in qualifying right now.
And kind of to that point, this racetrack, COTA, is one of the most mentally and physically demanding racetracks in all of North America. Sports cars, that's really meant for formula cars out here to be able to roll through a lot of this stuff. These drivers are having to work inside these sports cars. So when we talk about the heat, we have to remember the fitness level that goes on inside the cockpit. A lot going on.
Looks like Mike Mim has moved up into, well, he was in 3rd in the Pro-Ams, and Joel Johnson took that away. Brandon Hankins now, all the fast times are starting to spill in the Pro-Am category. None of them have caught Gilliland yet, but they've traded that 3rd spot repeatedly within the last half a minute.
Coming up to under 7 minutes right now, coming up to about 6.5 minutes remaining. Watching Toombs come across that start-finish line there, put in a lap time of what is a 2:13.752 that last time by. It's going to slot him in 12th place overall and looks to be about 4th place in class.
As we hop on board with John Polsitter in the Pro-Am category right now, as we head into the stadium section, one of the slower parts of the track that the 280 has to navigate. Still trying to find that time because he's only got about 0.2 of a second over the next car back in his class. It's much closer behind him than it is in front.
I wonder if he gets his speed from those cow gloves. I'm loving the gloves matching the car.
I didn't notice that. I'm trying to get a look here.
It's the finer things.
It's the details. You know, sometimes the stickers make you look cool too. They are cow gloves. Look at that.
That is so awesome. Well, now we're going to have to talk to him about that one. Makes you wonder if the horn also goes moo on that thing. But
do you think he's got a cowbell in there?
Possibly. I mean, he's going to have a fever after this race regardless because it's hot out there. That latest lap, it looks like not able to improve that time by. Still, he holds on to that pole. Just, I think, it seems to me, Joey, he's trying to get a little bit more comfort so he's not under threat from Demir.
That could be a possibility, but remember what Ashley said back in that Cayman GT4 qualifying. You don't really want to abuse your tires too much. You're going to have to start the race on these, and so the more laps that you do in qualifying, you're just essentially carrying that over to the race. So if you only do 1 lap in qualifying, you got some pretty fresh tires to start the race. If you do 7 laps in qualifying, well, guess what? You're going to have to manage it a little bit, maybe in comparison to the other competitors around you.
Yeah, those that can really put the lap down quickly are going to have a bit of an advantage there. As far as hot goes, first sector personal best, second sector purple, so quickest of anybody in his class. Can he follow it up with a third sector that puts him on to pole? Oh, Reinhold Kron moves up into third in the Pro-Ams as well with his personal best at a 2:11.1. And indeed, Demir Hott takes the pole away from John Gilliland, now down to a 2:10.3.
Pretty fast lap there out of that 2:41, and I think he's still got the bit between the teeth from that last Sprint Challenge GT3 Cup race where he was a little bit further back in terms of that track position, made a ton of awesome racing moves, passes on the racetrack, and he's just trying to set himself up much better for the start of this one.
That's Demir that we're seeing on screen right now. Still has time to try and go even quicker if he so desires, but I don't know. I feel like with all we've been talking about the tires,
yep,
that's probably a good time to say that's where I sit.
Well, I mean, look at our overall pole sitter, right? He's already in pit lane. He only turned really that 1 lap time out there, a 2:10.0. And then he brought it straight into pit lane. So the more laps that Demir does out there, I just made this point that he's going to have to deal with it out there in the race start conditions.
You know, one that's going to be fun to watch here at the end is the battle for 7th in the Pro-Ams. There is 8 thousandths of a second between 3 cars currently. It is extremely tight for that position. That's going to be Eric Lapp, Dan Ammon, and Poole out there.
Very, very close, and I think I saw that Ammon was already in pit lane. I see him on an outlap actually right now, so with 3 minutes remaining, he should be able to get to start finish and do 1 more timed lap. And Ashley, you had actually mentioned that if you feel maybe the car isn't absolutely perfect, but you think you can get another lap out of it, you just do kind of once around nice and slow. Another option is to bring it down pit lane and have your team search for that gap.
Yeah, finding a gap or bringing it into pit lane and just dropping your tire pressures a bit. But, I mean, watching Hott here, he is on a hot lap. He's actually a little bit faster here than Scott Blinn. He might be able to get the overall pole here. I know they're in separate classes, but he's definitely on a quick lap, and it's pretty late in qualifying.
Brennan Hankins now takes third, which has really been the hot potato of qualifying so far. As that's third in Pro-Am specifically. It's 4th overall. Across the line for Demir Hott, probably just setting himself up for the next lap.
No, I think that Sector 3 just wasn't quite as good. Ashley made an excellent point, was a little bit faster than our overall provisional pole sitter blend in Sector 1, was faster than him in Sector 2, but all of a sudden it all went away in Sector 3. So This is kind of the spiral as a driver. Okay, yeah, I missed up turn 19 or turn 20 or whatever it is. I know that I've got that lap time, but you've also just put a little bit more abuse on those tires. You're going to have to go out there and try to do it that next time by, but each time you go by that start-finish, it's going to get a little bit more difficult to grab the top of the board.
Ross Poole set 2 personal bests, and wow, he jumps up not just ahead of the 2 in front of him, but also Mark Wilgus. So Ross Poole into 6th in class. That was a fantastic one here at the dying stages of qualifying.
I think that was a 212.2 out of Ross Poole back there. So very nice effort. And yeah, like you said, the dying stages of qualifying out here. I'm looking at the timing board, 1:10 remaining. So as long as you're able to get to that start-finish line and start a new lap, if you wish, of course, that one will still count.
Do like seeing how much the times have kind of compressed here, Ashley. When we started, we were talking about drivers being 7 seconds off of the time. Now we've got the top 10 all within 2.2 seconds.
It's super, super close, and I know we're watching Hot here. He actually is on another flyer, so if he can keep it clean here through Sector 3, he might be able to squeeze by Scott Blind here. We'll find out, but yeah, the more laps that they do here, this will carry over into the race. So, I mean, 15 minutes on your set of tires, not sure how it could affect the car. It might not affect it at all, but we'll see as we go into the race.
And it's a difficult conversation to have with the driver when he says, I know I got the performance, and all of a sudden Demir is now going to give up on the lap. So I wonder if just Sector 3, something is not cooperating with him.
And Gilliland is still out there. Now, it looks like he's in the 2nd sector, so he better have a good couple of sectors here, because the first one was not an improvement for him. So if he wants to take that pole back, he needs to find a 1/4 of a second as we see the 221 of De Jesus.
And to think about strategy as well, like for Hot, I know he was trying to go for that overall pole, but keep in mind that Blind is in a totally different class, so there really is no need to push the car way beyond its limit in qualifying if you already are on pole in your own class.
The only caveat, it's tough to tell a racing car driver to slow down.
That is true. I am guilty of that myself.
I mean, we've seen that this weekend, drivers getting into fights with other classes and not necessarily needing to, and winding up getting into a bit of trouble because of it. So as we wait for the next car across, Gilliland's 2nd sector also not very good. I have a feeling he's probably going to just bring it down to pit lane here.
Yeah, looks like it's multiple seconds off there in Sector 1 and Sector 2, so that's, I think, exactly what he's doing. And it's tough because the team always wants you to bring in a hot car, essentially, to make sure they get a good read on those pressures, talking about the tire pressures, and then also the tire temperatures. All of that is very, very valuable data, but if you ask me, on a weekend like this, I'm going to cool off the car and save the tires for the race.
That is a lonely flag man. Every single car has been coming down pit lane, other than just a few that have actually taken that checkered flag here at the end. So you can see them at the bottom of the screen just kind of going by this camera as they wrap it up. Here we got one of them coming across the line, and that is going to be, it looks like, oh, I missed who that was actually.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Brandon Hankins to roll around. He's our furthest forward that still looks to be out there on the racetrack right now, but judging by the sector times, it doesn't look like he might be on a flyer. It looks like Toombs just crossed that line, a 2:16 car, and doing a 2:13.3 in terms of the lap time.
That's pretty much everybody. De Jesus, the last one that we're waiting for, but and yeah, there he goes. He's in pit lane. Let's go through that finishing order for qualifying. Scott Blind, overall pole and am pole, as Demir Hott is your pro-am pole, but 2nd overall with a fantastic lap. John Gilliland dueling with him, but unable to match his speed. He'll be 3rd, with Brandon Hankins in 4th and Joel Johnson in P5. From there, it is Reinhold Kron starting from 6th, Josh Conley 7th, and Mike Mim in P8. Ross Poole will be 9th, Mark Wilkus in 10th. Eric Lapp starting from the 11th position is Dan Ammon 12th, Peter Toombs 13th, and Francisco De Jesus 14th. Get ready for racing, because round 3 of the Porsche Endurance Challenge is coming your way here at Circuit of the Americas later this afternoon.